Well, here's one I thought I'd actually made a video of before, and turns out I hadn't. Oops. This is a Miele Super Electronic S238i. I guess that's where I bought it from. I think I did. I don't know if I don't remember if I bought it from a store or a person. I think it was a store. Of all the Mieles I have, this one has cost me the most. Not because it was the most expensive to buy, but because I spent like 130, 100 and something on the vacuum. And then I spent a lot more on parts. I had to buy a new hose because after I got it, the hose split right in the middle. I still have the original hose. I put some electrical tape on it and kept it, just because it is kind of different and odd, but it wasn't really usable. This is the new hose. Originally it did not have the switch for the power head. It just had a slide. It was a much shorter handle, and the hose kind of came off at an angle. All it had was this. This one even has a little glow thing on there. This is, I think, the only... Well, this was their first, as far as I'm aware, vacuum with the hose. Electric control on the hose. Now, the other thing you'll notice that's sort of interesting is the power nozzle is controlled by the speed control as well, as you can hear as I turn up the speed. Different. That is actually a new brush. I replaced the brush reel in it as well. I also had to replace, I believe it was the the cord rewind button. I also had to replace this entire back housing because the clips or the things that hold this to the housing were broken as well. Underneath there, so I had to replace this entire back housing. Brush roll back housing. I had to replace this piece here because it was broken. It was cracked along there. The new one is definitely made out of stronger plastic. I think that's all I replaced. Of course, the hose was very expensive, as was, believe it or not, this housing. Miele parts are very expensive, as anyone who owns a Miele, new or old, can tell you. They are a bit outrageous on their prices. It uses a wood brush roll, single strip, or single brush, wraps all the way around. Bristles seem a little bit soft, but it actually does a pretty good job on cleaning. The power nozzle was optional. They did have a smaller power nozzle, I believe, which had, I don't know if they sold that in the US though. It had like a belt in the middle of the dirt path and a smaller brush. I know that was optional or possibly standard in Europe. I don't know though. And this was actually what it came standard with, the old combo brush. As you notice, it does not have a latch on the wand ends. This relies on a friction ring, sort of like what the Electroluxes use. Same principle. The canister, as you noticed, it has two large fixed wheels on the side, one caster in the front, unlike the modern Mieles. This is the same hose connection as the Miele Plus. And anyone that has a Miele Plus or even an S, like a 300 series that does not have the direct connect, you'll notice this plug, it has sort of a blank there. You know, that's what it would be. It has a third flat prong for the speed control. And on these, the hose is necessary to run the vacuum. You cannot run the hose, you cannot run the machine without the hose, because it has to complete the circuit on the triac in order to run. And if you don't have the hose plugged in, there's no, unlike on the newer ones like my Capricorn, you can hit the reset button for the filter light, and it doubles as the run without the hose, or without the electronic hose command, but not on this one. You do, however, have sort of interesting filter type thing right there. I replaced this when I got the machine. Just carbon dust. Dusty. Originally I had washed it, but I only used dish soap and it didn't come too clean, and then I continued using it with paper bags. Oops. It came with some, so I just finished the supply. Obviously I'll be using, use the GN, the intensive clean bags, and we'll keep using the modern GN bags in it. You can use it with the hose in the exhaust. This one has a bit different latch. The old ones had a single latch here in the center, one button on the side that you'd push, and it had like a little ramp thing that wedged that back. I don't know if this particular hose will even fit, or will even work. I guess it'll sort of kind of stay in there. You have to have it in this sort of arrangement in order to use the blower. You have to have, again, the cord plugged in for that to work. This is part of the housing I replaced. There is no, on this particular machine, provision for a the microfilter. Now, on some models, they did have a larger housing that snapped on here. I've seen this on one machine. The only other early 200 series machine like this that I've seen, it was the beige, like a beige model. More bottom of the line than this one. Had the speed control on the machine, sort of with a dial that sort of reminds me of this in the way it had a long window with something like that, and you had a roller wheel back where between the two pedals. It was one a customer brought in for service, and it had the housing snapped in there, and it sort of stuck out into the bag chamber, and it held the I guess they called it the Super Air Clean filter. I don't know what they're calling it now, but the non-HEPA type filter pad. Filtration, I guess, won't be too much of a concern, since I'm using the better bags. They did, this was before the days of the HEPA filter. Well, actually, none of the 200 series machines ever accepted a HEPA filter. They only accepted the air clean, oops, it's slippery plastic. Excuse me. I guess I'll let you hear it. It's fairly quiet. Again, not as quiet as the newer models, but not loud either. As you can see, it actually does a very good job grooming the carpet. Even though the brush roll seems a little on the wimpy side initially, And this LED glows on here. Now this hose would have also been used on, they had a, what replaced this machine was a machine called the Silver Star, which looked something like the Miele Plus, but significantly larger, more this size, but had the body style of the Miele Plus, which this hose would have actually been the original hose to that machine, and it used a 224 power nozzle, and the 224 was the more, I guess, D-shaped power nozzle. It came out after this. That's what that one used. That's the hose or the machine this hose originally would have gone to. This hose does have the lock indent for use with a newer wand, so I could, if I wanted to use a 224 or a 224 or 234, which is 236 with an adapter cord for this kind of a setup. Uses the same plug. Come out of there. Well, I can't do that with same plug as the later versions. That's now this machine, when I had the machine apart to replace that motor housing, the upper motor housing, the circuit board had a date code on it that placed it, I don't remember the month, but I think somewhere in the middle of 1985. Now I believe that was the first year they were sold here. I'm not sure, it was somewhere around there. So this is a very early machine to be sold in the US. It's definitely older. Newer ones have a date code. I don't know if this 91B1, I doubt that because I know it's older than 91. Newer machines have a date code, but that's the model, type S238i-04. Not sure what that means, but uses a Lamb motor. I'll show you the date code here on my Capricorn. As you can see, there's only one sticker on the bottom of the Capricorn, but that's the date code. Oh, geez, if I can get this flash to stop blinding the camera. The date code is, it's basically 12/2007. They all have a date code like that. Newer machines. Hello again. But I'm not sure what else to say about it. I guess this this light basically tells you that this main power switch is turned on. This would be in case of a overheat condition. It would turn off the motor and turn that on. And of course the power nozzle uses a flat belt. I don't know if I said that before. It's a flat belt. No geared belts on it. And the original hoses did not have a swivel on the machine, or on the handle end. This one does. Of course that only has a limited swivel because of the cord. But I guess I didn't show the attachments. The annoying thing is you have to have this lined up straight in order to open it. I don't have a crevice tool. You know, I could just use the newer short crevice tools, but I'm just holding out for a long one, which they don't make anymore. You know, the cleaner. Now, if you ever do have one of these, I need to take this to work and wire wheel it. I need to clean this hole. Jeez, it's got dirty again. You have to use the old style oval ones. The other ones are just a bit too, stick out a bit too much. The small round ones that the newer machines use will not fit in there. It has to be the old style. And, you know, same crowd. I'm going to wash that. I think I ended up in too much of a hurry to really take this machine apart. I was in too much of a hurry to use it because this is a vacuum that as soon as I found out about its existence, I had to have it. And, you know, looked around for actually a couple of years before I finally did find it. So, sort of one of my dream Miele's. By far my oldest Miele, that's for sure.